Thank you very much for clicking on this video. This is a special training on the general settings for Team Energy. All right, so this is non-sniper settings. So remember, we have different type of signals that we deliver to you. All right, so when we say non-sniper setting, then you need to know that you need to use the general settings. The settings I'm going to show you here are, based on a simple calculation with Fibonacci sequence. And I think it's going to be worth your while as the new general settings. All right. Remember, the former general settings was the 248 method, 3 margin calls. But we decided to, tweak this a little bit so that we can maximize results. All right. So the general settings are based on Fibonacci numbers, and Fibonacci numbers, as you all know, and we've explained this in a former video, are 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. Where one number is based on the addition of the two previous numbers. All right, so apart from 1 and 2, the others are based on that calculation. So 3 is equivalent to 2 plus 1, right? And 5 is equivalent of 3 plus 2. And 8 is equivalent of 5 plus 3. And 13 is equivalent of 8 plus 5. 21 is equivalent of 13 plus 8. So the next number is based on the summation of the two previous numbers. So we want to operate with 4 margin calls using for these general settings, all right? So 4 margin calls, that means we'll be using 1, 2, 3, 4, all right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is why we've selected these numbers, 1, 2, 3, 5. So the first 4 Fibonacci numbers are 1, 2, 3, 5, and we've already explained how that is derived. So a key part of this formula and this calculation, and don't get too bothered about the calculation if if it bothers you or looks confusing. The end result is what you need. But for those who like to know details and who would like to expand on this, that's why we're going into this extra detail. So for 1, 2, 3, 5, add them all up, and then you get the number we call 11. That is a total of the Fibonacci numbers. So this will be margin call 1, margin call 2, margin call 3, margin call 4. And 11 is the sum of those figures. We'll get down to the calculations once again, about something that you need to remember. So we always tell you, whatever your total capital is, remember to divide it into 2 or 3 parts. All right? So if you have $8,000, for example, you can decide to have $3,000 trading or $2,000 trading into 4 places. Okay? That way your money is working in several assets playing at the same time. All of your funds are not in one single trade. Okay, so after you divide your capital into the various 3 parts, if you have $6,000, that means you have $2,000 trading capital, okay, for a particular trade. All right, this is important. And if you had $4,000, so that means you might have 4 trades of $1,000 each. So that's how we come about these figures. So for every trade, you're going to be trading with 45% of your capital. I'm just giving you a background to why we tweaked this formula in this way. So if $2,000 is being earmarked for a trade, that means you have maybe $8,000 or $6,000. You decided that, oh, this trade, I'm going to put $2,000 into it. Your first buying amount will be 45% of $2,000, which is $900. So that means if the trade is giving you 3% profit, you're going to make 3% of $900. All right, even if the market does not dip, because most of our signals go straight up and hit the target. All right, so that's why we want you to trade with 45% as your first buying amount, so that if you go straight to the target, you're going to make some good money. Another thing is that the remaining capital will be 1,100, and this will be for buying margin calls 1 to 4. Okay, and this will help bring down the average price, a little bit. All right, so it's all whole warehouse mode. Margin call 1 to 4, whole warehouse mode. All right, so if the market goes straight and hits the profit, it means you're going to make profit on 45% of your capital, since your FBA is 45%. And if the So if you're using $1,000, that means your first buying amount will be $450. All right. That means you have $550 remaining for the margin calls. All right. So let's get right into it. What is this formula for calculating the multiple buying ratio? So remember, in your bot, there's a section for multiple buying ratio. So all we're discussing here is how to get the figures to attach to your multiple buying ratio to help you execute your trades on autopilot for general settings, all right, which are non-sniper. So let's get started. If you have $1,000 as your trading capital, 45% of that is $450, all right? Remember, we're doing 4 margin calls, 1, 2, 3, and 5, right? Based on the Fibonacci sequence. So this is the formula. The particular margin call position could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4, divided by the MT, which is the margin call total, which is this, 11. So if you're doing for the first margin call, you say 1 divided by 11, multiplied by, the balance, which is 450. That is after taking away the 45% as first buying amount, whatever is the balance, and then you divide that total result by your first buying amount, which in this case is 450. So let's get right into it. Remember, we have previous videos that went into all of these details. All right, so remember, M stands for 1, 2, 3, or 5. Margin call total is constant here. In this case, it's 11. And the balance is the amount remaining after deducting the first buying amount, okay? And first buying amount is the same thing as first order amount. They can be used interchangeably. So let's get right into it for $1,000, okay? Your first buying amount is, so let's get right into it. First margin call, 1. So 1 divided by your margin call total, which is 11, and multiply that by 550. 550 is now your balance after your first buying amount has been removed from your $1,000. All right, so 1 divided by 11, how did we come about 11? Remember, we just added all the Fibonacci numbers for 4 margin calls. And when you do that, you multiply that by 550, which is the balance, and you get 50. Now, 50 is a figure, but we want to make this figure to be a proportion of the first buying amount, all right, to get the multiple buying ratio. So what we do here is we just say 50 divided by 450, which is the first buying amount, which is 45% of our capital, and that gives us 0.111. It's actually 0.111111 on and on. So, but we just need the first 2 or 3 decimal points, 0.111. So your multiple buying ratio for the first buying amount would be 0.111, okay? 0.111 multiplied by 450, all right? So if you do that calculation, what are you going to get, okay? So 0.111 multiplied by 450, that means the first buying amount there will be $49, okay? For the first multiple buying ratio, is going to buy $49 because it's 0.111 multiplied by the 450. Now, that is the first one. Now, as you go to the next level, you want to calculate for the second margin call. So I put that result for the first, first figure here for $1,000. Okay. Now for the second one, what you do, remember the second Fibonacci number is 2. So 2 divided by 11, okay, multiplied by the balance, which is 550. Then you divide the result of that by 450, which is the first buying amount. So what you're getting is 0.222. Okay, so second margin call multiple buying ratio will be 0.222. Very important, 0.222. So that means you're going to get 0.222 for the second margin call. You're going to get 0.222 multiplied by 450, which is 99.9, which is as good as 100. So remember, the first one was 0.111, all right, times 450. Which is about 49.95. So approximately $50 for the first margin call will be bought, and for the second margin call is going to buy about $100. So you see, $150 will be bought within the first 2 margin calls. So I hope you're getting the hang of it. But you're not going to put those dollar figures in the multiple buying ratio section. What you're going to put there is 0.111 and 0.222. All right, so that's just a little breakdown of what it is. Now, the same thing applies, and I'm just putting it all together here. The same thing applies. See, whether you're doing $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $500, your multiple buying ratio will remain the same. And I, tested this. So remember, you can remember how we got the first margin call, 0.111, okay? Now, for the second margin call, in the case of $2,000, the FBA is $900, 45%. Then the balance is $1,100. So the same pattern for the first margin call here will be 1 divided by 11 for the first margin call, 1 divided by 11 times, the balance, which is 1,100, 1,100, divided by the first buying amount. And that's what gives the first margin call. Now for the second margin call, all right, you have 2 here. So 2 divided by 11 multiplied by 1,100, okay, divided by 900, you get 0.222. So you see $1,000, $2,000, the same multiple buying ratio, all right? And when you do the third one, for the third margin call, remember the third margin call has 3 here. You do 3 divided by 11 multiplied by 1,100 divided by 900, all right? And then you get 0.333. So that means in this instance, in the case of $2,000 trading capital, you have, if it's where $1,000 trading capital, you have 0.333 multiplied by $450, which is 45%. That would be $149, thereabout, almost $150. Now, in the case of $2,000, it will be 0.333 multiplied by 900, which is the first buying amount, which is about 299.7, which is about $300. Okay, so that's important. And of course, the fourth margin call, the Fibonacci number for the fourth margin call is 5. 5 is gotten by adding 3 plus 2. Okay, 5. So that's why you have 5 divided by 11 here. And the balance after removing the first buying amount is 1,100. Okay, and then you divide what you get there, you divide it by 900, and you get 0.555. So listen, your multiple buying ratio for margin call 1 to 4, whether it's $1,000, $2,000, $500, or $300. Please don't use this for anything less than $300. The minimum you're going to use this setting for is $300. It's 0.111, 0.222, 0.333, and 0.555. All right. So this is an example for $1,000 again, just summarized. Okay, super easy. Same thing. You can see the calculation here. This is the balance. This is the first buying amount. And, you can knock yourself out by verifying the calculation. This is the value for $500. Okay. See the same thing, 0.111, 0.222, 0.333, 0.555. The same output. All right. 2, 3, 5, and 1. And that is exactly the formula. So, all right. So never mind this. Never mind this 550 here. All right, this is meant to be 275. Okay, this is meant to be 275, and this is meant to be 225. So 225 is the first buying amount, which is 45%, and what you have here is the balance after taking the first buying amount, 275. So this should be 275 here, and this should be 225. So that gives you the same figure, 0.111, 0.222, 0.222, 0.223, and 0.555. Now, for $300, right, the same thing. If you check it out, all right, for the first margin call, 1 divided by 11 multiplied by 165. 165 is the balance after removing the first buying amount. First buying amount is 45% of the capital, 300. All right, so if you go through that calculation, you're going to get first margin call, 0.111, second margin call, 0.222, third margin call, 0.333, fourth margin call, 0.555. You can pause this recording and verify the calculations if you wish to. All right, so that is it. What this means is when you go to your asset and you see a signal for general settings, you just need to tell yourself that you're going to trade 4 margin calls. And usually I will give you a a signal. My signal is going to tell you how much percentage dip you should tolerate. So, for example, one of the signals I gave recently, I said tolerate 15% dip. So what does it mean if I say tolerate 15% dip? It means you have 4 margin calls. You have the option of saying, okay, 15 divided by 4, okay, which is 3.75 per dip. So that works. Or you can even decide that, okay, for the first one, you're going to do 2.75 and then do 3.75 for the rest. That also works, okay? If I give a signal and say tolerate 30% dip, that means 30% divided by 4 margin calls is 7.5, per each drop. So, of course, you want the first margin call to quickly buy if it's going to dip. So you don't have to do 7.5 for the first one. You can decide to do 3.5, okay? Then you can, decide to allow the rest to be 7.5 or make them 888 or, use your discretion. So that's the logic of the opportunity. And I want you to begin to implement this new setting as general settings. So go to your Royal Queue and click on mine and click on my strategy settings. All right. And enter your FBA as 45% of your capital and put that in the remark. Okay. Your remark can be general Fibonacci settings, general settings, or non-sniper settings. Put whatever name you want in the remark. Just know that this is the settings you want to try. And as you trade with this setting, you can come back to this comment, this video, drop a comment, all right? And if you have a question about this video, just drop a comment. I want you to drop comments in the video so I can know you're watching it and that you are providing some feedback. As you trade, also can decide to add more value by dropping comments on this. All right. Remember to like and follow this channel because I'm going to be giving you a lot of knowledge, a lot of skills to help you grow your trading journey.